to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 11th day of October. Got Keith Engel coming in 30 minutes past the hour. Going to ask him about the Patriots. And, Keith, he was on the board early with this Oklahoma team to beat Texas. Texas is number 3 ranked team in the country. I was wanting to see what he saw in Oklahoma, judging by what they did last year. So, going to talk to him about that. Going to ask him, what does he do if he's Robert Kraft in this Patriots situation? So, plus, before that, I'm going to give you my opinion on the college football weekend. Also, there is a new study from The Athletic. Is reporting of a new study, the NBA. It says NBA load management no more supported by scientific data, the lead says. Going to talk about that and more. Let's go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way, and we'll hit the ground running here in 49 seconds on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then. Okay. Didn't think I would talk about this much NBA late September, October, but with the Damian Lillard trade coming up, went off a few weeks ago. Drew Holiday, have to bring it up. Now the Athletic is reporting, this came out this afternoon, NBA load management no longer supported by scientific data, according to Joe Varden and Sam Amick of The Athletic. Amick is a longtime writer there. This article says, in a stunning development, a top NBA official said teams' general practice of resting players to prevent future injury and extend careers, commonly known as load management, a term ingrained into the lexicon of the sports over the past several years of some of the biggest stars, is no longer supported by the data. And Joe Dumars, the vice president of basketball, a former player, Joe Dumars of the 80s, Detroit Pistons, speaks out on this, saying before it was given a conclusion that the data showed that you had to rest players a certain amount of time that justified them sitting out. Dumars says, we've gotten more data, and it just doesn't show that resting, sitting guys out correlates with lack of injuries or fatigue or anything like that. What it does show is maybe guys aren't efficient on second night of back-to-backs. I've been saying that for a long time. 2015, I wouldn't say I was out of work, but I was just doing real estate work and a lot of downtime, and I was really heavily invested into, on the side, daily fantasy basketball pickles on DraftKings, right? And I noticed that players on second nights of back-to-backs were inefficient. They were just a tick off, particularly players that are point guards that use their speed to get that first step off. So, this idea of resting players, this article goes on and talks about Kawhi Leonard during his stint with the Spurs and the Raptors. Kawhi, ironically, the other day, somebody asked him about his injuries. Why is he injured so much? And Leonard said, "Listen, I'm guarding the best player on the opposite team every night. It's a pretty high-end job, and then I'm expected to score a certain amount of points and be efficient. That makes some sense. But all that being said, if you guys recall, back in January, I brought up this story about Stan Van Gundy, longtime former coach here from the 90s all the way up to a few years ago, coached several teams. Jeff is his brother who works with the NBA, ESPN. He was also the former coach of the Knicks, to name a few. He was saying that their injuries, that he was surprised at the rise in injuries nowadays, particular growing injuries, hip injuries, ab injuries. And the players are using the load management. And he said back in the 90s, they only had one trainer. All those injuries were down. My thing is, it's the same issue with the NFL, that players trying to get out of doing less hitting in practice, no more two-a-days coming into training camp. When you start and stop your body, go from totally sitting down to full contact, totally sitting down, I think that can cause more injuries. Do you want to blame it on not being it? Because our bodies do adjust to the rigorous activity, okay, as we go along. And these studies are starting to prove that. They're starting to show that. So that's the good news. And then, of course, your cynics will say, well, I want to see that study, yada, yada, yada. No, that's what the study is. That's what the more data shows is. So hopefully this will be less load management and less injuries, So, yeah. So these guys have no incentive. These aren't owners and TV executives pushing this stuff, okay? These players sitting out like this, and I'm with the study on that. I could vouch for the back-to-back part, As I stated time and time again, here we are in October. By the way, the Braves are getting drilled again, 8-2. They simply, great season, 100-plus wins, don't have the pitching to win in the playoffs. That's my conclusion of them. That being said, they played Monday night. You've got, I don't know if it was the Braves, but I know there was a Monday night game. Excuse me. Or was it? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, they did play Monday night. Going against Monday Night Football. October's got sports overlapping each other. If the NBA, if you want to do away with the two-a-days the back-to-backs in the NBA, spread out the season, push it into July, push the finals into July. There's no other teams. Major League Baseball has meaningless games in July. They have the All-Star break in July because they're greedy, and they don't. They're overlapping in October when they shouldn't overlap football. You're not going to beat football out. Nobody's going to beat football out, okay? And you'll have more efficient basketball. We can have less load management, and sports fans will be more happy. Sports fans will be more happy because you have more competitive sports into the dead month of July and, quite frankly, August. I've been saying this for Bray skipped a day, totally off center. Yeah, Pickle says. So, yeah, anyways, it is what it is. Big name players want to extend their careers. And also there has been new rules added on in the off season, which I'm cool with. I'm glad that you cannot just you have to play a certain amount of games to be eligible for the MVP and several other awards. All NBA, those awards, not just MVP, NBA first team, second team, third team, that can affect a player's contract. So the NBA, they're making some headway there. They're making some headway on correcting that issue, in my opinion. I do think we have a really good season coming up in the next month or so. You've got Milwaukee with the additions there, with the additions of Boston, Denver. The West is, and people want to see what Wembanyama, I've read he's put on like 25 pounds or so. He's already taken his workout seriously. They're not going to do a big impact, but he's going to be an interesting player, very skillful big man to watch there. And let's see how all this stuff plays out. Phoenix will be good for a cup of coffee, but their age may catch up with them. I think the East may be a little bit more interesting than the West as a whole. People talk about Golden State and LA. They are ancient, in my opinion. Okay. All righty then. Didn't mean to talk about that story, but hey, it come up right at the right when I was going through. I was sending Keith some stuff and his email, and I was going through my notes for college stuff, and I saw that story pop up, and I thought that was interesting because it seemed like the fans get the raw end of that deal with this load management crap. Okay. College football. I'm going to ask Keith about this as soon as we get off the New England talk. I did not see Oklahoma beating Texas last Thursday. Again, Brett Venables takes this team over. He's a former defensive coordinator for Clemson, takes over University of Oklahoma. And last year, Oklahoma was 7-6-7. They had 7 losses last year. Okay. Lincoln Riley, who left Oklahoma and took the USC job, left Oklahoma and took the USC job. Before Oklahoma they were 11-2 win team. I know he took Caleb Williams with him, but I didn't think the cupboard was that bare. Brett Venables, one of these really animated defensive coordinator types. Usually those guys are great position coaches, Pickles. They're good defensive coordinator types, but they're usually not good head coaching types. Just an observation between the collegiate and pro games. So, and then on top of that, and then when you watch the fact that they lost 7 games last year, that's one of the worst Oklahoma teams I have ever seen lose that many games. Not getting in a bowl game since I've been watching the college game. They got a long history of winning. And then, of course, this year they come in, Oklahoma, they seem a step faster. They seem a step, like Dan Quinn, Pickle says. But that being said, when I watched that game at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern last Saturday, Oklahoma was just a step faster, man. I mean, they were just a tick off, causing multiple turnovers at the start of that game. And if it wasn't for a turnover by them, that was like a block punt or something where they scored off of Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma could have ran away with that game. They just seem a step ahead of Texas all night long, picking off Ewers. Ewers has a tendency, I know he played great against Texas, but he seems to have a tendency to press in these big games. He's got a little Peyton Manning and the pros in him, right? And that seems to be what happened there. So they finally calmed down, they meaning Oklahoma. Now, remember Texas beat this team, same team last year, 49-0. Same team, except Gabriel got hurt. That's the Dylan Gray. That's the Oklahoma quarterback. But they're still 49-0. Oklahoma's really had the edge on this rivalry. It's like 11-4 or something like that. Kind of like Tennessee and Florida. It's really been lopsided. But losing 49-0, I thought, man, that they're gonna kill Oklahoma again. And I think they were a little taken back by how well prepared Oklahoma was last Saturday. Again, Oklahoma seemed to get their footing around halftime. one-score game. Then it goes to 10 in the middle of the third quarter. Then I stopped watching. I just said, okay, you know what? I'm going to watch something else. I'm going to concentrate on a few other games. I had a wager going with Maryland, Tua's brother, and Ohio State. I will see if I can get that 10 point spread that I alternated in a different parlay, and I did end up getting it. Ohio State finally put them away and won by 20 points there. And then, of course, Oklahoma ended up winning by 4. So Texas did. Every time Texas would get their footing, it seemed like Oklahoma would just make another play. They were the better team. I'll ask Carlos about them on Friday. Carlos says the winner of this game, talking about last Saturday, would likely lose the championship game in the Big 12 championship game, which means he's saying that they'll likely play again. I'll ask him about that. Maybe Texas is a little bit more calmed down. Player for player, they've got the better team player for player. You know, they've had 2 top 5 classes. Oklahoma has not, but they're not that far off. This past year, Oklahoma had the number 3 ranked class, but I thought that was all salesmanship. This guy's not a good coach, like Pickle says, like a Dan Quinn. But so far, he's proved me wrong. Now, they've got a few more games to play, Oklahoma. Let's see how they handle success, right? Let's see how they Texas beat them in time of possession, but they had the 3 turnovers. Texas had twice as many penalties because Oklahoma was just a step faster, man. You know, they were simply just a step faster here. They've got quite a schedule coming up. They're 5th in the country. You know, and I want to say they still got to play like Kansas State or something. I did not download their schedule. But either way, we'll see how they handle it. There's a good chance they'll probably play Texas again. We have to wait and see on that one. Okay. Other stuff. Okay. Other college football games, folks. I tell you what. You know, I can't believe either. I had to go back and look at that Miami game, and because a lot of people were talking about it. Pickles, I don't know if you heard about this. So Miami, they're up by 4. It's 40 seconds over Georgia Tech. Mario Cristobal thought he was going to be a very good hire there. Did not have the first season, kind of had a first season very similar to a Brent Venables, although the difference between him and Venables is that he had experience in the as a head coach. Remember, he was the Oregon head coach. I mean, you got guys like Justin Herbert, Kayvon Thibodeau, had a lot of great players at the University. Panay Sewell, well of a recruiter. He went to school down south with the Hurricanes. I want to say he played for Jimmy Johnson back in the day. Now he's a head coach himself, Mario Cristobal. They beat up on Texas A&M, which, you know, I don't know how. I think Texas A&M is just overrated this year. I don't think they're that good, losing Alabama like that. But that means, no, never mind. They're up with 40 seconds to go. They're on the 27-yard line of Georgia Tech, and instead of Tech has no timeouts, they could have simply took a knee. Pickles, they took they called a running play. The running back fumbles for Miami. Georgia Tech gets the ball back and makes a few long plays, a basic Hail Mary. Georgia Tech wins the game. Wins the game by 3 points. One of the crazier scenes in college football all this year. Cristobal owned it. He had a brain cramp. His offensive coordinator owned it. He also claims to have a brain cramp. You say, man, Georgia Tech, they're pretty bad. Well, they've got North Carolina this week led. They're undefeated. They're ranked pretty high. I think they're like 14th. Carolina has Drake May, who's possibly the number 2, maybe the number 1 if Caleb Williams from USC does not decide to come out. They're playing them at North Carolina this week. They got caught looking ahead. They had a brain cramp. I mean, but I tell you what, it could be used against him if they lose to Florida State, if they lose to North Carolina coming up this week, which they're underdogs, a 3.5 point. And Pickle says kids have brain cramps. Yeah. Well, he was overconfident, and they wanted to hurry up and get out of there. You take a knee there, you get over it. But I think they did. Hey, but they owned it. He owned it and went up with it. But I'll tell you this. Like I said, depends on how they fare in their other games per se. Last year they lost to MTSU. They lost to Florida State in a blowout. They lost to Pitt in a blowout. This year they beat everybody. They should have beat Georgia Tech. They beat A&M 48-33. Beat Temple 41-7. And like I said, they should have beat Georgia Tech. But hey, man, yeah, it is what it is. Pickle says, "Kid, that's funny, man." But they'll be judged on how they play Carolina. Then they've got Clemson. Florida State later. Louisville is coached by former player for Louisville, Brian Brom, which that team beat Notre Dame, knocked them out of any contention that they had being as well. So we'll see how that thing plays out. I still think Chris Ball's a pretty good coach. They're probably going to be another year of recruiting and a year of transfers and all that good stuff. Like I said, a lot of this is you're judged on Clemson, Florida State, and particularly this year, North Carolina. We'll see how that plays out, though. It's it was a knucklehead move, man. You can't do that. Anyways, what else? Okay, yeah. I was really surprised by A&M. The second half, I don't know, you want to call it a collapse? They've got this guy, Max Johnson. He's the quarterback. He was the son of Brad Johnson. This is the A&M quarterback that's currently starting. His dad, Brad Johnson, won a Super Bowl with the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team at home against Alabama, they had the lead at halftime. I want to say it was 17-10. Alabama with Moreau, who is a shaky passer at best, comes back, wins the game on the road. Did not see that coming. But I'll tell you what, Alabama, since their week 2 loss to Texas, Nick Saban, he is breaking in. Obviously a new quarterback, but he's breaking in this young offensive coordinator that came over from Notre Dame. Okay. Guys like 30-something years old, 30, 31 years old. He's breaking him in, and he's trying to break in the quarterback here, Monroe. But, 2 big wins there for Alabama. And if you look at the rest of Alabama's schedule, LSU's defense, they are a shell of themselves. They are simply not what they were. I don't know what the deal is with Brian Kelly. He has not answered that. But I do think that Alabama, they are primed and ready. They are primed and ready to make a run if they get to the SEC. If they run the table, which I think they can, looking at LSU, I really thought that they were going to lose that game. They were 2.5 point favorites at A&M with that quarterback. But yeah, LSU, they're giving up 35, 40 points a game. I want to say they lost. They've already lost that second game. They play at Alabama this year. I do think that Alabama will win that game. I had Alabama winning the national championship, but I had second thoughts, particularly after the Texas game. Then they go down to USF and barely squeaked that win by. Not sure if they're better than Georgia this year, but as I stated before, when you've got that many five-star players, it's just about talent and him coaching that talent up. The Alabama teams are going to get better. They're going to get better and better and better as the season goes along because they're deep, they're talented. He's trying to mold these players into playing at a certain level, the high octane, and also with this crazy turnover he's got with coaches as well. This is, that's life there. I don't know how good they're going to be. It's wide open this year. Penn State is still undefeated. They're very good. Michigan hasn't really been tested yet. Florida State, they did beat Clemson and beat LSU. Clemson has already lost to Duke, and LSU's already got another loss as well. So you're not really sure how good Florida State is. My guess is there are no great teams. USC plays Notre Dame this week. Notre Dame's already got, 3 losses now since they lost at Louisville. Young coach, a little bit over his head. And then also USC, talked about them a few weeks ago, giving up 40 points to Colorado. I don't know if USC can win to a big-time team on the road. I'll ask Keith, who does he think is going to win that game? Oregon and Washington seem like the two better teams of the Pac-12. If you ask me, I think both of them teams can beat, can and probably will beat USC this year, per se. But so those two teams play together. We'll break that game down Friday with Carlos Mad, New Yorker Chavez, Oregon and Washington. You've got two potential Heisman Trophy winners there. This is the biggest game that they've ever played where both of them were ranked. I want to say these two teams are ranked in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. That will be a well of a game, Pickles. 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. Yeah, so, Georgia's number one, of course, Michigan. Ohio State's jumped Florida State, and they haven't played nobody. I don't know why they've got it that. But it's Ohio State, Florida State, and Oklahoma's up to 5. Washington is 7, and Oregon is 8. So that's going to be interesting. The winner of that game will likely jump into the top 5. The winner of Washington and Oregon. Both of them put up a lot of points. This is going to be played at Washington. This Penix guy, I think they're averaging like 35 points a game. Going to be an interesting one. And for the record, Texas is 9, USC is 10, Alabama's back up to 11, North Carolina is 12. Okay. Pickles just made a baseball. 10-2. I mean, the Braves, I was looking, they don't quite have the ERA for the regular season, but I did look at they were second in saves. They're second in saves, and they've got 2 players that I noticed, Pickles, that have over 40 home runs. I don't remember that growing up watching that Brave team, but they simply don't have the pitch. It's funny, if they had the pitching they used to have, the starting pitching, they may have a better bullpen, but you cannot give up 10 runs. Would they give up 4? Would they give up 4 the other day, 3 the day before that? I think this is a best of 5 series, and they've got to play again tomorrow. If it was me, Pickles, I would try to push Strider to play tomorrow. I think they played last Saturday, so he should be ready with rest. And then, of course, if they could push it to game 5, I would use pitcher by committee. That's how I would do it. I mean, that's if you want to get to the World Series this year. But looks like Phillies, hey, they were in the World Series last year. You never know. Maybe they're just simply the better team. And the Braves just had a better regular season. But that's been the Braves that I've known growing up. Great regular season. Fold like a cheap stew. Yeah, okay, Strider will play 4. Yeah, he'll give you a chance to win 4. And in game 5, I would do like the 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks. I would just do pitcher by, I don't know, pitcher by committee. I would go through pitchers. If I see somebody getting slammed, if he starts to, give him some home runs, I'm going to pull him out, pull somebody else in. I don't care if it's the first inning or the third inning or the 8th inning. I would not just play. I would not go out, win 104 games, and fold like that, and go out with that type of without giving some kind of fight, some type of strategy there. Okay, there is my man Keith Angle, everybody from TGI Sports.
Good evening, Robert.
I'm going to ask you about the Hurricanes here in a little bit.
I wore this in solidarity just to show that Mario Cristobal is not the only guy who can go on and make a fool of himself in front of a bunch of.
I said I was telling the audience he had a brain cramp, and then Pickle says kids have brain cramps.
Yeah. More than a brain cramp, man. I'll tell you that's one of the worst coaching decisions in the history of football.
Man, something? Yeah, we can start there. What do you think they were thinking? They just think, well, just run the ball, get out of here. I mean,
I can't explain what they're thinking. He can't explain what they're thinking. There was some talk that the running back, I can't remember the kid's name, they gave the ball to, it was about, they thought he needed 5 more yards to get to 100.
Oh, God. That's why I hate it when coaches do stuff like that.
And it turns out he already had 100 yards rushing once they did the stats at the end of this game. Don't play for individual numbers. The idea is to win games, and that is like.
Well, see, now that makes me want to hammer him now that he said that.
Well, that's what the talk was after the game. What he said in the 5 days since, I'm not sure. And this is a team. This is a team. The ACC's got a couple of teams that if they run the table.
Yeah,
they could find their way into the playoff.
Do you think Miami's got I think they're probably looking ahead to this North Carolina game this Saturday.
I think it's entirely possible. They shouldn't have been that close with Georgia Tech in the first place. I don't think Saturday, so they could lose that game that way. They probably were looking ahead. It's a good North Carolina team. The defense is playing a lot better under Gene Chizik's.
Gene Chizik, used to be for Auburn, I think.
It's taken a couple of years for his system to take place, or maybe get players to fit it. But they're playing much better defense. And, in a season loaded with great quarterbacks, I think they got the best quarterback myself in Drake May. He's really.
Do you like him better than Williams?
I do. I think he'll be better at the next level than Williams. And right now, I think he's the best quarterback in college too.
Okay.
And I think even out Pat, and not to change the subject, but you mentioned Williams. I think Bo Nix and Michael Penix are both better than Williams right now.
Wow. Well, Penix is it's his Heisman to lose right now, isn't it?
I think so. Him and Williams, I think, are very close when you look at like the betting odds, right? They're very close. Williams has done most of his damage in a couple of games. Yeah. But the problem, first of all, there's going to be a bias against giving it to him for a second year in a row.
Right.
Williams. I think there's a built-in bias there. You saw it with Tim Tebow. They're going
to have to get to the playoffs. They don't play any defense hardly, man. They miss tackles.
It's awful for them to go into quadruple overtime or whatever they went into at Arizona last week. It was just ridiculous. That team's going to lose. They're not going to win. They're not going to win.
You know what? Notre Dame's let me down, but I could see them losing this Saturday to Notre Dame.
I could see Notre Dame. I like that'll be an over bet for me. It's 6. I'm just going to sit and watch the points roll up, I think. But yes, I could see Notre Dame beating them. I could see they've got Notre Dame left. They got Oregon left. They got Washington left.
Is it at Oregon or at USC? I think it's at Oregon, isn't it?
I believe it is. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to get beat, man. You know what? That was one of my things, Keith. That one of my predictions. Everybody's like Lincoln Riley. He's got USC talent. He's going to get USC to the national champ. And I'm thinking, no, his teams do not play defense. They miss tackles at Oklahoma. They're going to miss tackles at USC. Look at what they gave up to Colorado. His quarterbacks They do great. He's really good with quarterbacks, but they're just simply products of his system. They're not that great, the pros. So I'm like you. I'm not sure about Caleb. But some people are saying he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes.
Look, let's let him get out of college. He may stay in college next year even because he's making so much money in the NIL.
He's got 3 national commercials. Taco Bell.
He's making like $3 million this year. It's amazing. And look at it. And then first of all, you're right about Lincoln Riley, and they'll have a new defensive coordinator next year, but there's no way he can defend Alex Greenwich any longer. I mean, He did it at Oklahoma. He can't keep him here. He's going to have to fire him. He won't fire him in season, but because it doesn't help, I don't think, in college. But developing quarterbacks that's not their job anyway. In my mind, I get in this argument with guys all the time because they'll say, "Well, Ohio State, why they stink is because they can't get develop pro quarterbacks." What's that got to do with winning college football games?
You're there to win games.
Nothing. It doesn't matter. Some of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time didn't make it on the next level. So
that's true. That's true. I mean, Tebow didn't, and he was really good. And
yeah, maybe the best college quarterback of all time, Tim Tebow. Maybe.
Man, remember the guy from was Tommy Frazier? He was awesome at
Tommy Frazier. Well, there's tons of them. I can, Steve Spurrier was a great college player.
Yep. Okay, something, man. We'll do college, and I'll circle back to the NFLs. Ask you about the Patriots.
I'm sorry,
Oklahoma. Didn't you tell? Okay, you told me that Oklahoma was going to be in the playoff, man.
I did. And they were not rated. They were
seven losses last year. Brent Venables looked like coordinator material. What did you see in Oklahoma now that they beat Texas? What did you see? I've been wanting to ask you that for a while, man.
I love Dylan Gabriel's a great quarterback coming in there in the portal and healthy. I think Venables is a guy who probably needed to get his feet on the ground. They had better than 6 and 7 talent last year.
Yes.
I mean, he had some pressure. If he didn't get off to a good start this year, they'd been calling for his head.
Oh, yeah.
But I just looked at what the talent that they had, and I thought if they improved that defense just a little bit, they would have a potentially dynamic offense, which they're that close to having.
Yes.
And if they beat Texas, I really thought Texas or Oklahoma would win the Big 12 on the way out. And Oklahoma is a team I fell on. And I said, if they're going to win the Big 12, I'll put them in the playoff. So,
man, and something, you were by yourself there. I thought that, and other people were saying Penn State, Big Ten, maybe one of these Pac-12 teams, SEC. Nobody had Oklahoma. You ever watch that movie Casino with Robert De Niro?
Oh, yeah.
The mob guy. Who had Oklahoma? Nobody had Oklahoma. Remo.
That's a great scene. I had Oklahoma.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. Yeah.
And Penn State, I love it. Everybody's all over Penn State. This happens every year. And come October 21st, they'll go to Ohio State. Oh, no, the game might be in Happy Valley.
Yeah,
now.
I think it is. I think it's at Ohio State, too.
The thing with Penn State, though, is, they're scoring a bunch of points. Their defense is really good. Manny Diaz is doing a great job there. He's liable to be a head coach again next year.
Yeah.
He got chased out.
He's a former the Hurricane coach, right?
Yeah, he got chased out because they wanted Mario.
Yeah.
So, but as well as they're playing, that first of all, they haven't been tested. They haven't played anybody, really.
Yeah. And
for all the points they're scoring, they are 113th. There's only 133 teams.
Wow.
In plays over 20 yards this year.
Wow. 113th. That's an interesting stat there.
Alar, the quarterback's only thrown the ball over 20 yards 4 times. So you got to be explosive. That's okay. You can, and maybe they just haven't shown their cards yet. Maybe that's it, right?
I was impressed the way they handled Illinois like that.
Yeah,
but they really haven't. They got an Ohio State and they've got Michigan. They get through that gauntlet. Yeah, they'd be legit, but I don't know if they can beat both of them. I
don't either. And they got to show to me they're more explosive than they've shown. And again, maybe they're hiding it. Maybe they don't want to show it until they play those guys. But I'd be working on it right now is what I'd be doing.
What's this guy, Al Iglar? I can't remember his name.
Alar, the quarterback. Yeah, he's played very well.
He's way better than that Clifford guy, though.
Yeah, well, he's dual threat, and which Clifford really wasn't. And look, it's a good football team, but James Franklin has had really good football teams before, and then he falls flat. He's like 2-7, I think, against Ohio State and Michigan.
That's true. That's true.
So
I think he blew out Michigan once, and Ohio State was like a block field goal or something.
Yeah.
To end the game. You remember that, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
So, not a big James Franklin guy. Just show me if he gets through that gauntlet once, I'll give him some credit.
Yeah, people have been waiting for that for a long time, man. You know
I know.
Let's see. I'm trying to see. Okay, what do you think about? I'm trying to get everything. Seems like we went through that college stuff pretty quick. Are you surprised at any team right now?
Who am I surprised at? Let me just
as having success.
Yeah, one team I can tell you I'm surprised about is I'm a little surprised at North Carolina being as dominant as they've been.
You thought they would lose to South Carolina in week 1?
I did.
Yeah,
me too. South Carolina. Yeah, not one of my better picks. I've had a pretty good year, but man, all the ones I tell people about on the air, I lose. So they think I lose every game. So I'm a little surprised. Louisville's a huge surprise too. I think they're
Ron Brom, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Brom, man.
Jeff Brom back at his alma mater finally. You've been trying to get him there for years. They're an exciting team. They play pretty good defense too. So I think they're like a year ahead of where I thought they'd be. I thought they'd get good, but that's another team. They run the ACC and beat in the championship game. You might be looking at Louisville in the playoff.
Do you think? Did you expect Florida State to be this good, or is about what you expected?
I did. I picked Florida State actually as one of my Final Four teams.
Okay.
I had Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida State, and Ohio State.
Oh yeah, you're doing good, man. Did you pick Ohio State or Notre Dame in that other game?
I like Notre Dame in that game.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, they there's been so many coaching blunders, and I like Marcus Freeman. I think he'll be fine. I think he's got to grow into the job a little bit.
Right.
But again, their immediate response to having 10 men on the field, not once, but we find out it was the last 2 plays. Ohio State couldn't score the first time.
Penalty.
It turns out they admitted later last week, I guess, that they didn't know there was 10 men on the field after the game. He said, we decided to go with 10 because we didn't want to give up 6 inches. I mean, come on,
man,
just take accountability and say after the game, we blew it. We didn't know what we had on the field. And that's how it turns out that they didn't. And they didn't even admit it, Robert, until it turned out, because nobody knew it until they went back and reviewed the film, because they were so interested in the last play. Yeah. Nobody looked at the play before it where they also had 10 men on the field.
Sports Center called it, and then they tweeted it out. And counted the men on there. And then, of course, they lost to Louisville last week, right?
Yeah, that's not a good loss either.
They're probably done now.
And the week before against Duke, they tried to give that game away as well. So,
well, that game went late. That was a good game, though.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they almost fell out of the pool. They fell all the way down to like 21 or 2 this week.
I guess it'll help if they knock out USC Saturday.
Yeah, but they're not in the playoff hunt anymore. It's done. That's done. There's no even conversation of that. But it's like Notre Dame to go, and win this game and knock USC out of the running as well. So.
Yeah, USC, man. I know they're going to get beat. It's just too much here. Who do you like in that Washington game this weekend? What a game, Washington, Oregon.
That's a great game. They match up they look like mirror images of themselves. You look at them on paper, but 2 great quarterbacks, both in the Heisman race.
What's the over and under? About 75?
That one was, I think it was 70.
Hey, I might take the over there.
Let me see. What was it? I'll tell you right now. I had it up here a second ago. All I got to do is find the game again.
Okay.
I like to answer your question. I like Washington at home.
Me too. Yeah,
laying 3.
I'll talk
Oregon's
about
got Oregon's got a really good defense, but I just like home field advantage in college. I really do a lot. I think it means a lot. Let me just see what that over under is, because I'll tell you what, the over under to bet, like I said, is going to be
USC.
It's going to be USC, only 60. I think that's a gift. Let's see
especially if there's no weather issue up in South Bend.
Yeah, you got to watch that, of course. 67 in the Oregon-Washington.
I may take that. I don't know. I would look at last year's score, but that's I can't remember a time when Washington and Oregon was such a big game, man.
This is the first time, and they've been playing. This is the border war. They've been playing this for 115 years. It's the first time they've ever played when both were ranked in the top 10.
I thought that was something special about that.
Yeah, and they've had very few years where both were really good. One was good and the other was bad, and I think Oregon beat in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, something like that. They beat them 14 out of 15 times or something. So,
oh wow! Oh, Washington's really chomping at the bit.
Yeah, they beat them. I think they beat them last year. I can't remember who won last year. I think Washington won last year.
Yeah, I think it was like a 3-point game.
Yeah. I just love the coach. DeBoer's a really good coach. Dan Lanning's a good coach for Oregon too. They both are really good young coaches, and I think it's going to be a great college football game to watch. I mean, it may be one I don't put any dollars on and just sit back and enjoy it.
So you won't have to pull for one. That's interesting, and that's ironic. The two coaches before them were really good coaches too. Had Cristobal with all those great talented players. Chris Peterson, great coach. Everywhere he went.
One of the most underrated coaches in the last couple of decades, Chris Peterson. Great coach.
I wish that guy was coaching Tennessee here in Nashville or Knoxville area. Hey, man.
I don't think he's coming. I don't think he's coming back ever. I don't think Chris Peterson.
He should, though. He needs to get him a ring, man.
Well, somebody would pay him a lot of money, too. I can tell you right now.
If I was USC, when USC job was open, I'm like, go after Peterson. Don't go after Lincoln Riley.
Look, if they're paying Jimbo Fisher and Mel Tucker $12 million a year, Peterson can get paid $15.
Yeah, Peterson, man, he's a quick turn. Flip it over to the pro game. Okay, if you're Robert Kraft, remember that movie Big with Tom Hanks? He wants to be grown. He makes the wish. He wakes up. He's a grown man. Tomorrow, Keith, you wake up. You look in the mirror and you're Robert Kraft. What do you do about this situation up in Foxborough?
and I can wish for anything I want. I wish Tom Brady's 25 years old. That's what I'd wish for.
So if you're Robert Kraft tomorrow, you're looking at it, I don't know if they could beat the Raiders, man.
You know what? There's so many problems right now. I've always been realistic about my teams, right? But I can also find some glimmer of hope to hold on to.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't have any. Yeah. Early, I said, they were getting behind, but they played game lead. They were staying in games, coming back. What they did against the Eagles, and I'm trying to remember who they played the second game. They did the same thing. And Mac Jones didn't play bad. And the offensive line has gotten worse as we've gone along. The penalties are back. Mac's bad decision making's back, and I think in his defense, I think he's just getting really happy feet back there and getting scared because he knows he's going to get killed. And now Juju Schuster was a horrible signing. I talked about it here, I think, and I talked about it in a lot of places. Bad trading Juju for Jacoby Myers basically was a horrible move.
And the Myers has got great hands, great in the red zone, Yeah.
And now the injuries are piling up. Judon is out probably for the year. Gonzalez, who was playing really good at the corner, top draft pick, is probably done for the year. I mean, we've gone so bad that we're bringing back guys that we let walk because we didn't want them, like J.C. Jackson. So you may see some guys get traded before the trade deadline. You may see a couple of guys get moved. And,
I looked up that the other day, and some guy wrote an article. And he named players like Hunter Henry. What was that guy's name? Duggar, the safety.
Kyle Duggar, I love. He's probably the guy that I would want him to stay and build around him, but he's probably also the most marketable guy they have.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think they have that many players that you could get anything from. I mean, Judon's hurt. Nobody's going to trade for Judon.
No, and Trent Brown? Who's going to trade for Trent Brown? Or I mean,
he listened that the writer put that in the article. I mean, I don't see what you do at this point, man.
This is as dire as it's been since
the 70s,
1999. I can tell you. I don't see
ourselves.
I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel here. It's scary, and I for the first time, I think this might be the end for Bill Belichick.
Man,
whether it's his choice or it'll probably be. My guess is, and I've always said this. I always said he would walk away when he wanted to walk away.
Yeah.
Now I've kind of mended it too. I don't think. Because Bob Kraft, I don't think he'll ever fire Bill Belichick or say he fired Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
They will come to a mutual agreement.
Well, we talked about in the offseason.
Yeah, that Bill wants to spend more. Here's what things got to happen. He's either got to go or he's got to give up the front office side entirely.
Yes. And I was telling my audience, Keith, you were 100% right about that. I looked at website after website after website. Only executive position I could find was Robert Kraft's son's the president, and Bill Belichick's face keeps coming up. He cannot pick these players. They can't get separation with these receivers.
When they were really good, and he was getting a lot of the credit for the player acquisitions and whatnot. He always had a right-hand man like Scott Pioli, who went to
Pioli. That's who I was trying to think of the other day. Yeah,
he had. I can't think of the guy's name. Who went to Texas, who's done a good job down there. I can't think of his name, but he's always had. He doesn't have that guy now. There is nobody there to tell Bill no.
Yeah,
and he is not the talent evaluator that he was. I think he can still coach, but he doesn't.
He can coach.
He doesn't have any players to coach.
Yeah,
I mean they're not good. And it was a bad look for Mac Jones people too to kind of leak out the other day that you could be the cook, but you can't make good food with garbage.
Is that what he said?
He didn't say it. Some people around him said it.
So, are they going to be in for a quarterback next year?
Probably. I mean this, and again, it's too bad because I do think Mac could be a serviceable NFL quarterback.
Yeah,
but his confidence is getting so beat up with what's going on here, and he hasn't had a real chance to succeed because he doesn't have the weapons. He's not. Whoever the source was that leaked that information isn't wrong. I mean, how are you going to be successful when you got Juju Schuster running 2-yard routes and dropping the ball?
That's true. Yeah, I was reading the stat. They don't get open. There's no separation. Remember, Brady had that problem. Brady could hit the underneath guy perfectly, Yeah,
bro, Brady could lift the team. He played with bad offensive lines. He played with mediocre wide receivers at different times in his career, but he could lift those guys. Mac Jones isn't that guy. He needs quality players. Everything needs to click. The margin for error is very small. And Brady,
like we were saying before, it seemed like everything has to be perfect. And I can't believe they lost. Like the Saints ain't that good offensively, man. That was shocked by that, man.
I saw a team that just quit.
Yeah.
They quit. I mean, they turned the ball over twice. Mac Jones again gives up a turnover that turns into a touchdown early. Once they were down 14-0, I feel like I felt like the offense just quit.
Yeah, 11 points a game. I mean, that's 80s stuff right there. They got to have the 85 Bear defense to be able to get away with cheap shots to win.
And the defense, which is hurting and missing guys everywhere. Yeah. I mean, they're out there the whole game. They're gonna wear down. I give them credit for battling at least on the defensive side, but.
Do you think Belichick will finally? This is so humiliating. Do you think he'll give up the general manager duties?
I think he'll be forced to if he wants to stay here.
Yeah. How do you see this thing playing out, man?
Again, I think for the first time, I've come to the conclusion that this is probably going to be it for Bill Belichick here.
So if you had to do a percentage, would you say it's 70-30 that Belichick's gone, or
I'll go 60-40 right now.
Belichick stays?
No, leaves.
Oh, wow.
I would say 60-40 leaves, and it's a mutual decision. It'll be announced a mutual decision. Maybe he'll coach somewhere else.
Take another job, or he'll retire, Keith?
He should retire because
he looks about 10 years older in that last press conference.
Yeah, and historically, this doesn't work out great unless you're like Bill Parcells. You go win somewhere else. It doesn't happen. You go somewhere else, he's going to lose again somewhere else. I mean, his record without Tom Brady is not very good, by the way.
That's true. And those Tom Brady people, they're winning right now. I was one of the 50-50 people, Keith, too.
I said it was both of them, and I've come to a conclusion that it was more Brady than Belichick now. And whether he comes back, Robert, will depend on how badly he wants the wins record, and because he's not that far away.
Yeah,
but
I think somebody would hire him, man. I mean, he's still Belichick. He just can't be the general manager.
There was some rumors.
His own guy got fired for the same thing Bill O'Brien did.
Yeah.
You think he would kind of put that together and say, you know what, maybe I should step down for trying to be the general manager.
Yeah, Pickles is right. Jason Shule is the problem, so he'll probably. Problem is, if he stays here, it might take him like 5 more years to get it, for crying out loud.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
Oh God!
So
if
you're Kraft, that's what you do. You say step down from. You cannot pick the players no more, Coach. I'm sorry. You kill them at Smalls.
I think at best that's the decision that's going to get made. He's going to say, Bill, you either give this up and coach, or we're going to decide to mutually part ways.
Yeah, because I was looking at their schedule, man. They got Vegas, Buffalo, Miami. They could be 1-7 by the trade deadline, Keith.
They could be. And I thought, I knew we get started bad. I thought 2-4, I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
Depending on how that 2-4 was, I didn't see 2 of those losses being 72-3 either.
Right. Last minute field goals or something.
But this now looks like it could possibly snowball, and quarterback controversies are right around the corner.
Yeah, I just don't think him and Mac Jones get it along even a little bit.
No, they don't interact. You watch them on the sideline; they don't ever really interact. Yeah. Even when he pulls them from a game, he just comes over and says one word to him. Which is probably
he left in Judon in the Dallas game, but he took out Mac. And the guy asked him about it from. He's like, "Well, I just felt like it was good for the team." He didn't know what to say.
Today, this week's press conference on Monday was even better because they said, "What do you do now, Bill?" He goes, "Start over," and he goes. Yeah. What does that entail? He goes, starting over.
Boy, he was having a bad hair day, too. He looked like that guy we got out of a rack. Remember the one with the messed up hair,
There's many days he looks like he's been held hostage for about 380 days. Yes.
That guy that Jay Leno's always showing a picture of.
Oh, poor Bill.
Well, hey man, I'm hoping for the best. I know you're a straight shooter when it comes to the. See now, Philly sports guy, he would have gave a positive spin and blamed everybody else.
Look it is what it is. But if I can find a way to say, and I don't blame referees, I don't blame this, I don't blame that. If you stink, right?
You get your teeth kicked in. I didn't blame them when Tennessee blew that game to the Colts last week. I think they just they got ahead of themselves,
Yeah, with Richardson out, they don't beat them, right?
Yeah, I mean you got to beat the backup. You got to beat Richardson. He's a rookie.
Yes, I agree.
Get your offensive line and back intact, and they still can't beat the Colts. And they're killing me, Smalls. They're killing me.
There's a lot of bad football being played in the NFL. There's a lot of bad coaching at the pro and the college level. Game management is awful. Everywhere.
Yes. Carlos says that every week, Keith, and I have to agree. There's some bad football. That's why my stepmom used to talk to her dog, and when he would pee on the carpet, or that's bad. It's bad. That's bad interception. I mean, that Monday night game, that was unwatchable.
Oh, I said that to somebody who was a Green Bay fan. I was talking to him on the phone the other day. And I said, I know you're a Green Bay fan, but I'm sorry, you're a Raider fan. And I know he's happy he won the game, but I'm like, that game was unwatchable.
No.
I mean, God.
I said that game would have been great 20 years ago with Rich Gannon playing Brett Favre, maybe.
Yeah, the best player in the field. I didn't see a ball get thrown to him for 3 quarters. Who's running the game plans here, for crying out loud?
Yeah.
By the way,
I appreciate it.
There's another guy out of a job, by the way, for the second time is Josh McDaniel.
Oh, really?
Another guy who can't win without Tom Brady.
You think Brady's loving this?
Probably part of him.
Yeah.
I would say part of him's like, I don't think he hates Bill Belichick, but I think he likes the fact that, Bill's now got to eat a little, what?
Mad genius. The mad genius there. Man. Well, I hope it all gets better. If something big happens, I got to bring you back on the program.
Anytime.
You are you serious? Now that comes on.
We are moving to 9 a.m. on Friday, so we'll be on live at 9 a.m. With the Mad New Yorker, and we haven't been on in a couple weeks because of my vacation schedule. So I'm all rested and ready for some new blood vessels to pop in my head.
You're off your bye week. You're going to be free. I can tell you're great out of the gate, man. You're like that running back, dude. You're just exploding off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but I don't have much endurance these days. So.
And you do the show on Sunday too, right?
Our Sunday stream of consciousness is live from 8:30 to 10:30 on Sundays.
Yeah,
right after you and I tag each other on Mac and Jack.
Oh yeah. And he comes on Mac and Jack, and that's what I keep up with your takes at 8 a.m. Eastern Sunday, right?
Yep.
And then I relieve you at 8:30 Eastern before I go to church and get purified for all that sin I'm about to do and did Saturday. All that good stuff here. Keith Engel.
When the time comes, we'll be tagging each other as I'm going down and you're going up, probably. So.
Pickles says great show. Thank you, Chad Pickles. Keith Engel. Check Keith Engel out. This guy, you're the only one who had Oklahoma. You're the only one that had Oklahoma.
I don't want to crow yet.
They could lose this week and just totally, they might be off. Who are they playing? Are they playing nobody, are they?
I believe they're off this week, I believe.
Okay, well, that's huge because that was a big win. That's the biggest win in Venables' career, man.
And by the way, Dylan Gabriel put himself in the Heisman race with that drive, too. So
yeah, he's definitely playing like Dylan Gabriel, like I joked the other day, not Peter Gabriel. I thought he was going to play like Peter Gabriel.
I play like Peter Gabriel.
All us older folks, we catch that reference.
We're all looking better than Peter Gabriel.
Oh, man. He's 1,000 years old, man. Keith Engel, everybody. Thank you, Mick Keith.
Thanks, Robert.
Have a good one, buddy. See ya. All right, everybody. See you next time. Tomorrow we'll go over point spreads. Do a little bit of that. Talk about tomorrow's game. We got Chiefs Bengals. Have a good night, everybody.